Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Carmen. Welcome. So this is going to be part 2 of my predictions for 2022. Because 2022 is such a big year, it needed to be split up into 2 videos. So definitely make sure to check out part 1 of my predictions for 2022 if you haven't checked it out already after you watch this video, because I make a lot of really big predictions in that video. I'll put a link to it below in the description box. Now that video was filmed in December 2021, and already at the beginning part of 2022, we're starting to see predictions that I made in that video come true. 2022 is a universal 6 year in numerology, and the universal year number is very, very important because it determines the energy for the collective for that entire year. And this is the energy that the whole world will be experiencing in a given year. And it will affect you on a very personal level as well. Of course, if you want to find out the specifics to what your year will be like, the details, the minor details, then you have to determine what your personal year number is. Now, to find out what your personal year number is, check out my video on how to calculate and interpret that. I'll put a link to it below in the description box, because the personal year is extremely accurate in predicting all kinds of things that will happen to you in a given year. But to look at what will happen in the world, we need to look at the universal year number in numerology. And this year is a 6 year. And as I had talked about in that video, 6 is the number of healing. It's the number of fixing things that have been broken. It's a very responsible energy. And, it comes in after the 5 energy. The 5 energy is all about transformation and change and a lot of movement, right? A lot of things getting broken down so that they can be transformed. And 2021 was a universal 5 year, and we experienced a lot of that during the year 2021. A lot of things got broken, a lot of things got damaged. A lot of people reported that they felt like 2021 was a wild, reckless ride where, their dreams got broken, their hearts got broken, their purpose in life got broken, everything got broken and damaged. On the positive side, 5 can be a great number. It can be a very exciting, transformational number. But on the negative side, it can be a very chaotic, surprising, shocking type of energy. Now, 2022, as I had mentioned, is a universal 6 year, and 6 is a number of restoring things, bringing back health, bringing back stability. It's all about responsibility, taking responsibility for your actions, for things that you have done in the past, and, taking responsibility and making those wrongs into rights. And with that responsible energy that it has to it, it brings in the feeling of justice as well. Because as I said, it fixes the things that have been wronged or have been imbalanced in some sort of way by bringing balance to those situations or by making them right. So it has the energy of justice to it. And I mentioned in my prior video that people that have done things that have been wrong to other people, that justice will be brought to them and wrongs will be righted. And we're already starting to see this come true at the very beginning of the year with the conviction of Ghislaine Maxwell, somebody who was convicted for doing a lot of bad things to a lot of people. And she was involved in trafficking and all kinds of things that hurt a lot of people, right? And she's already been convicted of those crimes at the beginning of this year. So already we're starting to see justice being brought. And one of the big themes that you will see in the year 2022 is restoration, restoring things that have been imbalanced and bringing beauty back to things that have become very ugly. Because 6 is the number of beauty as well, right? It's ruled by Venus, and Venus is all about beauty. So we're going to see that things that have become ugly starting to become beautiful again. But in order for that to happen, there's going to be a lot of ugliness that comes out in the world. We're going to be shocked this year about some of the things, some of the accusations, some of the things that people in positions of power have been doing all this time that a lot of people were not aware of. And Ghislaine Maxwell being convicted of trafficking and other things, that's just one example of somebody who was in a position of power who took advantage of that and hurt a lot of people and did a lot of ugly things. We're going to see a lot of ugliness coming out in the year 2022. And this involves high up politicians that you would have never thought in a million years could do something, that they're being accused of, is going to come to the surface. And this includes Hollywood as well. More things that Hollywood has done that have been very, very ugly in the world. A lot of that stuff is going to come to the surface. A lot of celebrities that the world has looked up to, there's going to be a lot of ugliness that comes out. And some of those celebrities, things will be revealed about them, things that they have done that you will be shocked when you find this out, right? Because the media is not covering any of it, and it never does, and it never has. And that's another thing too. A lot of shocking things that the media has covered up, right? That they've been involved in, cover-ups, that they knew what was happening, but they covered it up. A lot of the imbalance within the media, right? Because with the media, we usually only see one side of things. We don't see both sides. They only show us one side to everything. And they only show what they want people to see, to control them, right? They want people to stay in fear. So they only report about the negative things that are happening in the world. And this is a huge imbalance because 99% of what's going on in the world is not negative, right? 99% of what we see in the world is not negative, yet 99% of what the media is reporting about is negative. And there's a lot of things that the media has tried very hard in this world to cover up. And this involves the virus, this involves political issues, Hollywood. The media has been involved in a lot of cover-ups. The media has become very imbalanced, and people are going to see this. They're going to see this year. The imbalances that are in the world will come to the surface. A lot of average people in the world are going to start waking up and seeing some of these things that have been hidden from us, and people will demand change. And because of this, we're going to start to see balance being restored to some of these systems, right? We're going to start to see more things coming into balance, with the media becoming more balanced, with, Hollywood and and people in political positions starting to become more balanced. And justice will be brought to a lot of those institutions. And more balance will be restored as a result of this justice being brought. And things will become more beautiful because of it. But before that happens, a lot of ugliness is going to come to the surface. So don't be surprised if you see a lot of shocking things being revealed about people that you would have never guessed in a million years. And this is all part of the great awakening that is happening on the planet right now. That's right, the planet is going through a great awakening and ascension process where we are starting to become aware of our power and how powerful we really are, and that we basically have been asleep this whole time, and that we are spiritual beings living in a human body and just having a temporary experience. And Earth really is just a matrix, basically. We're in a matrix, like that movie, The Matrix, where everything is kind of just an illusion. We're just down here temporarily, to go to university to learn our lessons, and then we go back up and we take the lessons that we've learned with us. And we really are just souls in a body having a temporary experience. If you want to find out more about the Great Awakening that is happening all over the planet right now, check out that video, my Great Awakening video. I'll put a link to it below in the description box. But basically, there's a lot of people in power that don't want people to know this. They don't want people to wake up, because when people wake up and they're not living in fear, then they can't control them anymore. And those people in power lose their power, right? So this restoration of balance to the planet and justice being served, and ugly things that have happened coming up to the surface so that they can be fixed and removed, this is part of the ascension process. This is all it's all connected, right, guys? Everything is all connected. That's just part of the process. Now, in 2021, it was a universal 5 year, and 5 is the number of exploration and discovering things that are new, that you have never discovered before, right? A lot of people with the 5 energy, they tend to be adventurers and explorers. It's all about learning something new and discovering something new. 5 is also the number of the 5th dimension, right? 5D. And the main part of the ascension process is moving from 3D consciousness into 5D consciousness. At the 3rd dimensional consciousness, we're stuck down in the physical and all we see is the physical. But when we move into the 5D consciousness, then we start to see the purpose for everything that is happening, and we just accept things and we become more neutral. We are not easily triggered. We don't let the world bring us down as much because we see the purpose of everything that's happening, right? When we're in the 5D consciousness, we see that there is a great awakening and a great ascension happening on the planet right now. You might be one of those people that last year you suddenly got into numerology or astrology, or you started to see repeating numbers, or you started to get into tarot, something like that, right? A lot of that happened last year in 2021, being that it was a universal 5 year. And 5 is the number of the 5D, right? The 5D consciousness. And also when living in the 5D consciousness, we know that we are all connected, right? We are all one. We all come from the same source. In the 3D, it might seem like we are in separation, we are separated from each other, but in reality, in the 5D consciousness, we see the truth, which is that we aren't separated from each other. We are all connected and we are all one. So a lot of people in the year 2021 started to have spiritual awakenings and started to explore some of these more esoteric concepts, with 5 being a very exploratory number. Now, at 2022 being a universal 6 year, what will happen in this year is a lot of people that started to wake up, they're going to take that newly awakened knowledge within them and they're going to start to do something with it. We're going to start to see a lot of people getting out there and starting to use some of this knowledge to help other people. You will start to see a lot of light workers starting to emerge. As I had mentioned before in that video, 6 is the number of healing. A lot of traditional and non-traditional healers tend to be life path number 6s, or they have 6s in their chart. A lot of doctors, nurses, and energy healers. Dr. Oz is a life path number 6. A lot of people are going to take that 5 energy that they've newly acquired and they're going to go out and try to help heal the world. Now is the time to get it done and to help with this ascension process. They will do it by either sharing this knowledge with other people or spreading love and kindness to other people, right? 6 is the number of love and nurture. Or they might take that knowledge and they might start a business with it and start helping people by seeing clients and working with people one-on-one. As I had mentioned before in my prior video, that this universal 6 year, this will be the year of the entrepreneur. People starting their own business and working for themselves and taking responsibility for their own lives, not having somebody else tell them what to do. You know, they get to call the shots on their own and take responsibility for themselves. 6 is a very responsible number and it's a great business number as well. And you will see that this year. There was a lot of people that moved from their jobs in 2021. They moved from their homes. They moved all across the world. They made a lot of changes, and that's because 5 is the number of change. And it's very common that people will change jobs or change where they live during universal 5 years. But this, coupled with the ascension and the great awakening that is happening on the planet right now, we saw a lot of people not only, like changing jobs that you normally would during a universal 5 year. We saw people completely just resigning from their careers and their professions altogether and not going back, right? Not looking for another job to replace it, completely changing professions and careers altogether. They started to see that they were not living their true purpose. They were not doing what made them happy, what they were passionate about, and what they were truly born in this world to do. A lot of people started to wake up to that and started to see that last year in 2021. And that was part of that 5 energy, that great transformation that happened to people in the year 2021 and part of the ascension process. So you will see that in 2022, that some of those people that realize that they were not living their true purpose, they will be supported by the universe to do something with this and to really figure out what it is that they truly love to do in this world. And if they haven't discovered this already, they will discover it this year, and they will do something with it this year, and possibly even start businesses and start to see people, helping people, and using this knowledge. So we're going to see people becoming more responsible for themselves, taking care of themselves, healing themselves, taking responsibility of their lives, looking at their lives saying, maybe this career isn't something that I was meant to do. It's not making me happy. It's not bringing me happiness. And now I'm going to figure out what it is that I really love to do, and I'm going to take that leap and try to do it, right? That's taking responsibility for yourself. And we're going to see more of that in the year 2022. And I also mentioned in that other video that there's a lot of imbalances within the world, right? There's imbalances within the systems, the political systems, Hollywood, within all kinds of systems. There's imbalances. And I also mentioned the imbalance within a lot of currencies all over the world, how a lot of governments are just printing out money and not being responsible with money, and how that's causing a lot of inflation all over the world, and people's money is not worth as much as it used to be, right? It's theft on a very individual level. And it's very irresponsible what some of these governments are doing. 6 is the number of fixing things that have been broken. And so we're going to see some of this getting fixed this year, right? This could be crashes within currency systems. It could be crashes within markets, as I had mentioned before. We might see a crash within currencies happening in parts of the world. Now, one of the things that I also forgot to mention in that video is that cryptocurrency is going to become really big in 2022. So we really started to see cryptocurrency become big in the year 2021, and it's going to grow even bigger in the year 2022. It's going to be really big this year. I would highly recommend investing in cryptocurrency because crypto is one of the solutions, and it's one of the things that fixes the problem of inflation, right? I did a video on cryptocurrency. You can check that video out. I'll put a link to it below, and I'm going to do more in the future, so stay tuned for those. But in that video, I looked at the purpose of cryptocurrency by calculating crypto's birth chart. And crypto's life purpose and its expression number, both numbers were a 6. So like I said, 6 is the number of healing. It's the number of fixing things that have been broken. So crypto, basically it being a 6 and having that 6 energy, it's the solution to the problem of inflation and the imbalance that has happened in this area. It's kind of like the medicine to it, right? Because with crypto, it can't be printed out whenever somebody feels like printing it out, right? Has that responsible energy of being like, no, you cannot just print me out whenever you feel like it. I'm not going to let that happen, right? So it's taking a stand. It has a very responsible energy to it. And in that sense, it is the solution to the problem that's been created with fiat currency. So crypto is going to be huge in the year 2022. And I'm also predicting that it's going to become more mainstream in 2022. So in addition to using credit, people will also be able to pay for things using crypto. We're going to see average, normal people starting to invest in crypto a lot more and using crypto more in the year 2022. And this energy of responsibility that the number 6 brings in, we're going to see this with people on a personal level, but we're also going to see it with people being responsible when it comes to their relationships too. We're going to see people taking more responsibility towards other people. So 6 is the number of relationships and people taking responsibility for their relationships with other people and their relationship with themselves. So we're going to see some of this healing that's happening in the world. We're going to see it on the level of relationships as well. People healing their relationships with others, but first they will have to heal the relationship that they have with themselves. We're going to see people really starting to focus on their health and take a more responsible approach to their own health instead of waiting until something bad happens and then going to the doctor, where more people are taking responsibility for their diet and their lifestyle and, their exercise routine, figuring out what is, broken or what is unhealed within them and bringing that to the surface and trying to heal that. And people trying to do that on their own instead of going to somebody else to do it. We're going to see a lot of that. People taking responsibility and learning how to heal themselves in the year 2022. And we're going to see people starting to heal their relationships as well. So if there's been a relationship that you're involved in that has become imbalanced in some sort of way, maybe you're doing all the work and the other person doesn't do anything, or maybe that other person is the one doing all the work and you do very little in the relationship. We're going to see some of those imbalances within relationships starting to become more balanced as people really focus on healing their relationships with other people and figuring out what is the problem within my relationship with this other person. What needs to be fixed? What needs to be addressed? Some of that will come to the surface during a 6 universal year so that you can work on it and you can heal that relationship with that other person. And in the process of that, we're going to start to see people's relationships becoming stronger, right? Because the things that are broken within them will get fixed. And I can also see this energy playing out where people start to see the imbalances that are within a relationship and not taking it anymore, standing up for oneself and not allowing oneself to be treated like a doormat if they feel like they had been treated like a doormat by someone, or not allowing themselves to be taken advantage of by other people anymore. Since 6 is also the number of self-love, and standing up for oneself is an action of self-love, and a very responsible thing to do. But doing so in a very grown-up way, since 6 has a very adult-like, responsible energy to it, and it has an energy like a parent who gives love, but tough love when it is needed. And also the relationship that you have with yourself, because that's the most important relationship of them all. So people forgiving themselves for past things that they have done that they have not been able to get over. People not being so hard on themselves. People going easier on themselves. Now, 6 is a number of responsibility, as I had mentioned before, and holding people accountable for their actions, right? Because that's what responsibility is. It's taking responsibility for your actions, and it's being held to a certain level of accountability. And we're starting to see this within the world, but we're also going to see this within the earth as well. And Mother Earth continuing to hold humans and humanity responsible for some of the things that the world has done to the earth that still have not been fixed yet. And this is going to be kind of like a continuation of 2021, where we saw extreme weather happening, right? We saw fires, we saw floods, earthquakes, volcanoes erupting that have been dormant for thousands of years. There was all kinds of crazy, chaotic weather that happened in 2021. And, that had to do with some of that chaotic energy of the 5 energy. But in 2022, we will see a continuation of that. And that's because this is related to responsibility and the earth holding humanity responsible for the way humanity has treated it so far. And what I mean by that is that there's been an imbalance in the way that humans have treated the planet, right? There's been an imbalance in this area, so that will be rebalanced. Not taking responsibility for keeping the environment clean and keeping the oceans clean and keeping the air clean. So now, because humans haven't taken that responsibility, we're going to see Mother Earth continuing to take that responsibility and striking back at humanity with some of this crazy weather that's very extreme, right? That's Mother Earth's way of taking responsibility for the imbalance of the environment. But there's a lot of businesses out there that have become very awake and have become very aware of some of the damage that has been done to the environment. And, we're seeing companies that are taking responsibility, right? There are some companies that if you purchase something, for every purchase you make, they plant a tree or they remove a bottle from the ocean. So we're going to see more of this growth in conscious capitalism in the year 2022. More companies that take a responsibility to humans and to the planet and fixing some of the problems that have been caused by humans. We're going to see a rise in these companies in the year 2022. And we're going to see some of the people that have become awakened starting these companies as well. But you're definitely going to see a rise in big corporations that really start to care about the planet and are taking an active role to help fix some of the damage that has been done to the environment. 6 in numerology is also the number of birth. If you look at the number 6, it looks like somebody who's about to give birth, right? If you look at the way it looks. So 6 in numerology is the number of families, children, and birth. And it's also the number of rebirth and resurrection. And so we're going to see a rebirth on the planet this year. We're going to see things being reborn. Things, like I said, things that have been damaged, that have been broken, now those are getting fixed and getting healed. And it's like the planet is reborn again, right? There's a rebirth, a renewal, and a resurrection. And a lot of people have felt very restricted over the past few years. They felt very restricted, like a lot of their freedoms have been taken away from them. And we're going to see some of this being reborn within our world, right? People feeling like there's a rebirth of things, like there's a resurrection of life again on the planet in the year 2022. 6 in numerology is the number of love, right? It's the number of care and love. It's also the number of passion, as I had mentioned before in my previous video. And when you have passion, there's 2 extremes of passion, right? There's 2 ends of the spectrum. On one end of the spectrum of passion, you have love. And on the other end of the spectrum of passion, you have hate, right? So with any year, we can experience the positives of that number. We can experience the extremes on one end, but we can also experience the extremes on the other end as well. So this can be a very loving year where relationships are restored and new ones are created. People find love finally that have been looking for a long time, or people finally take their relationships to the next level. People getting married, people getting engaged. All kinds of love and abundance happening in the world on one extreme, but it can also go the other way too, where we see more acts of hate in the world. Every number has a negative side to it too. There's the positive side of the number and there's the negative side of the number. And on the negative side of number 6, you have the opposite of love, which is hate. So we can see more of that in the world as well. There's a possibility of seeing more acts of hate towards one another, acts of violence, even possibly war, right? We might see war happening in some sort of way. And this could be an actual war that could take place, as I had mentioned before in my other video, where, people are physically on the ground fighting each other, or it could be a non-physical kind of war that could be going on as well, such as a war of the mind, a war of words, right? Or a war of fear, where fear is implemented. So it could be that kind of non-physical war happening as well, because that's kind of like the new war, right? War isn't like it used to be where people are throwing bombs at each other. There's a new kind of war that exists, right? It's the war of fear, and the war where you feel like you're at war with everybody else, where you're in fear of everybody else. It's a more mental war that's happening. And that, and that's kind of like the new version of war that's happening in the world, right? Where you feel like you're at war with everybody else because everybody is a threat to you. So when it comes to the emotion of passion, it can go either way with the 6 energy. But we as a collective, we can choose which side of the 6 energy that we want to experience this year. We can set our intentions and we can focus on the positive things that are happening in the world and the positive things that are happening in our life, and we get to choose. You have the power to do that. You have the power to decide what kind of universal year this will be for the world. Will this be a positive 6 year, or will it be a negative 6 year? You get to choose that, and the way you do that is by focusing on the positive things that are happening in the year, right? Focusing on the positive things that are happening within your life. Not living in fear, believing that this is going to be a great year, and seeing the beauty when it does happen, when the restoration starts to happen, when justice starts to be served, and health is being restored, and acts of love towards strangers, towards friends, towards people in relationships. when all of that starts to surface and you see that, pay attention to that more, right? When you pay attention to those things happening, you will see more of that happening in your world. It will start to happen more for you because that's what you're putting your attention and your focus on. Whatever we put our attention and our focus on, that grows and it becomes bigger in our world. If we start to focus on all of the hate and the war that is happening in the world, then that's going to become bigger and you will start to see more of that. That's how you tell the universe that this is what I want, right? This is the kind of 6 year that I want to have in the world. I want to have the positive 6 year, not the negative 6 year, because there's multiple timelines, right, guys? It could go either way. That's the universe that we live in. There's not just one timeline for anything. There's multiple timelines for everything. And if you want this universal 6 year for the world to be on a better timeline, then set the intention right now that that's what you want, and try to focus your intentions and your attention onto the good things that happen when you see that positive 6 energy popping up in your world, and show gratitude for it when it does happen. Now, that doesn't mean that when something negative happens in the world that we just ignore it, right? We don't just ignore it. We send our love, we send our prayers to some of those negative things that are happening in the world, and then that's it. Then after that, we don't focus on it anymore. We take our attention elsewhere, onto the things that we want to have brought into our world. Because you thinking about those and worrying about those events, that's not going to change anything, right? Your mind, you worrying about it, that's not going to change anything. So focus on the good things that are happening in your life. When you see the positive side of the number 6 happening in your world, how my neighbor, took in my trash can and I didn't even ask them to. They did that for me. That is so nice of them. Wow, we must be on the better timeline, right? We must be on the more positive 6 energy timeline. Try to see those things happening in your world, and more of that will happen. And we will see the positive energy of this number this year. And you be that person to instigate that, right? You be that person to go out there and do those helpful acts to other people. You be the person to initiate it first, right? And when you start to do that, then you will definitely experience the more positive side of the 6 energy this year in 2022. And it will be a very beautiful year this year. So I hope that you enjoyed this video today, and definitely check out part 1 of this video. Make sure to check out my videos on calculating your personal year number as well, so you can find out the specifics of what will happen for you this year. And check out that video on cryptocurrency also. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think will happen this year in the year 2022, and what are you hoping will happen for you personally? And what part of this video resonated with you? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to get a personal reading with me, I will put that information below in the description box. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with other people. It really helps out the channel a lot when you do that. I would love to have you subscribe and to become part of the family. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.